Good afternoon, everybody. It's me, Miss Gabby, and I'm so excited to be hanging out with everyone today for our 2 o'clock edition for Cap at Home. And shout out to Miss Ivy and Miss Allie for today's awesome projects that they did beforehand. But today with me, we are going to be making homemade watercolors. There's a lot of great things that we've been doing with our Cap at Home where we can just use things that we already have. So if you don't have your own watercolors, all you really need is some baking soda with some like food coloring to be able to create your own. So let me show you today how we're gonna get started. So here we have, so it's super important, I always say, to start off with something to be working on. So like a clean little area to have here. Working on a board, or especially for today, especially because we might get a little messy, because you can kind of see I got a little bit of food coloring under my nails, but that's all right because eventually it'll come out. But I'm working on a board today, or if you need some paper towel or something like that too, that's really important to have because we are going to be working a little bit with wet things and like that today. So what you're gonna need, I have an ice cube tray, but if you don't have an ice cube tray that you can just use for something like this, just small containers of some sort, they don't really need a lid, or like an egg carton or something like that. You just, it's just easy because we'll have like these little crevices to separate our different colors. And you also need some baking soda today. So I just have this, the one that I use just for even baking. And what we need today as well is some food coloring. There's gel food coloring and there's liquid food coloring. I have gel and I couldn't find any liquid, but liquid may be a little bit easier, but gel works just the same. And what I have today is red, blue, and yellow. So just our primary colors, because I'm going to show you how to mix to get all the other colors. And what's really cool about that too is a lot of the times if you are purchasing food coloring or something of that sort, they usually have a lot of other colors like inside as well that you can use. And I have some toothpicks here, and I do have this jar of water. And I do, if you want to too, I brought this just to help me pour along into here when we need. And I have a spoon. I have some extra spoons on the side just in case if I need it to help mix or pour water. So I have a couple different varieties to show you today. So let's get started. I also put in the in the description too to help with the color mixtures and color blending. So I put a link to a previous video where I made this color wheel, and the color wheel is really great and amazing to help with kind of visually seeing the colors and what we can use to make what color. Like I said, I have yellow, blue, and green with us today, so those are our primary colors, and those are great because we can use that to make all these other colors in between. Just depending on the amount of the color that we're using. So I brought this for a reference, so if you want to, you can go ahead and check it out and make your own, just you have a visual reference for yourself. It's really great because I showed you how to do it with the colored pencils and watercolors, but it's really cool because we're making our own watercolors today. So what you're going to start off with, you just want to fill some of these watercolor little or the ice cube trays here with like 3/4 of the way full with some powder, baking soda. And so I'm going to just take that, and you can see that's pretty good there. So it's just probably like a scoop. So I'm just going to go ahead and start off with making they're like our first 3 colors. So, you can, if you'd like to, really take your time and plan out, where your colors are going to be and where they're going to go. So it's easy for you, especially when they dry. You can have a nice little color palette of colors here. So I'm just going to start off with the 3 first, just because those are going to be our first colors we're working with. And just so it'd be easily like reference and visually for everybody else. So just because, like, if you were using liquid, it'd be easy because you can just add certain drops of color. And so with gel, it's just a little more tough, but it's all right because a lot of the time I think gel is just coming into the world, and you can find these to in like the baking aisle or something like that. And so yeah, so here, and you want to definitely be careful. So if you want to use gloves or something, that's really important to do too, because you can see I kind of stained my fingers making some beforehand, but that's all right. That's what's great about being an artist. So you can either use the toothpicks, or if you want, you can use your spoon. So you know, like so what I like to do is just like to dip or take, you know, my toothpick. It's really easy because I can kind of, you know, guide as much like water or as much color of the food gel that I really like and how much I actually really want. So you can kind of see I'm kind of taking my time and scooping it, you know, and that's what I'm going to do here. And you can kind of see it's kind of getting stuck to it. And, you know, that's why it's important too to have, you know, you can use this. So you see there's basically like one drop. So I'm just gonna put this aside. I did forget to grab some paper towel. But with the red, you know, red's a little difficult, even in baking, it's a little difficult to be using. So I'm gonna add just like a little bit extra because, you know, you have the power to make, you know, your colors as vibrant or as less saturated as you really want. So I'm actually just gonna, I have a garbage can right next to me, so I'm gonna pitch that. And I'm going to grab some paper towel really quick. So you want to make sure that you have everything easily accessible to you. So I just grabbed some paper towel. And I'm going to just put my spoon here. I'm going to just use my water. It's really easy because I can just, I just poured some water in here. Use some of the water as like a cleaning utensil or something of that sort. So I added some here, and you don't want to put that much water. Just because we don't want it to be entirely watery. So you see here, I added just like a little bit of water, and it's okay if there's too much because you can end up adding, you know, more baking soda if you need to, or if it's not, you know, dry enough, you can add a little bit more water, but it's all about just wanting to gauge and things like that. And it's really easy to just mix it. It may be easier to like mix it with a little bit more water. But in the end, our end goal basically is to create more of a paste, right? So when it dries out, it will solidify into our watercolors. So you see, it is a little bit messy, and maybe the spoon's a little too big, but you want to see like how I'm getting down there all the way. And you can kind of see my red is not as maybe red as bold of a red as you would like. So that's where you can then add more red of the gel food coloring into it, and however you feel. So that's, you know, basically your choice. And, you know, maybe this spoon is a little too big. So maybe I'll just flip it around. I think that will be easier to use the spoon handle to mix. But that's actually a really good consistency. It's not too watery, and it's a little more paste-like, which is what we're kind of looking for here. And you see that. So yeah, maybe using the end of the spoon. So actually, once I mixed it all up, that actually turned into more of a red that I really kind of like, and really wanted. So you see that. So I'm just using my finger kind of to grab the excess off and flattening it. So you can kind of see how much of that baking soda and that watercolor we actually got here. So that is my red. So I'm gonna actually just wipe my hand on my paper towel. And I'm gonna just rinse off. I have just rinsing off all this, really easy. So next I'm gonna make my yellow. So I'm gonna take a new toothpick. I have quite a bit. And this is a golden yellow is what the color of it is. And I'm gonna just take quite a bit because I know that yellow also needs quite a bit of coloring to make that vibrant yellow that I want. So I'm gonna just wipe off the excess back on here, and I'm gonna just pitch this right away. It's very important to keep things super clean. I always say that in anything that I'm doing, you know, by having just your paper towel or anything like that too. You know, right next to you so it's easy. So you see here, I'm gonna just take a scoop of water just in my spoon and dump it in here. So you can kind of, it's kind of like magical to be able to see it already changing just in the water. So here, you know, maybe I added too much water. You can kind of see that That is a very, very deep, deep yellow. But it's actually perfect. And you see how much easier it was to mix that kind of with the water. But it's okay because all you have to do really is just add some more baking soda. So if it's a little too liquidy like you see there, that's all right. I'm just gonna go ahead and mix that up. Perfect. Now that is a lovely yellow. That is a very deep, deep yellow, which I really like. So you can kind of see, so there we have is our red, our yellow. It may look a little more orange. Maybe I shouldn't have put that much color into it, but that's all right. So there we have it. So that's pretty perfect. So I'm just rinsing off my edge of the spoon. So next we're gonna do our blue. So I always like to add extra blue because you know, it needs to be a little more vibrant. I like my colors to be extremely bold. So the blue is a little trickier here. It's a little thick gel coloring. But that's perfect because that's kind of what I'm looking for. So you see I'm just putting a nice big old glob there with my toothpick. I'm gonna just toss my toothpick right to the side. And I'm gonna just take a spoonful of water and add that in there. So you see that's kind of changing. So definitely you can kind of see maybe I didn't add enough water to this, and see it's kind of spilling all over, and that's all right. I'm gonna just take some more water, add a little bit more, boop. So it's really important to be taking your time and kind of gauging and seeing, and if you're making a mess, just cleaning it up. And that is the perfect color blue that I'm looking for. And you see it's a little liquidy. So what I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and add just a little bit more baking soda. Perfect. So it's nice to have that jar of water there to be able to kind of rinse everything off too. So like I said, we want it to be a little more paste-like than like more of like liquidy or anything like that. So you can kind of see how this is all coming together. Really nice. And you see the extra little there, and that's all right. So I'm gonna just flatten that out. So there we have it. You know, so obviously these are not all the colors that we have made, but so this is where you want to stop and really think about what is the next color that you want to make. You know, and I kind of put these out a little bit in a good way to for you to be able to see you know, what colors we do need to mix and how we can mix them. And so this is also a great way to then now look at our color wheel. So I do want to make an actual orange. I know that this you know, looks more like orange right now, probably just because maybe I put a little bit too much of the color yellow inside of there, and that's all right. And but what we can do basically now to make orange is we just mix yellow and red here to make the orange. So, you know, it would be equal parts yellow and equal parts red. So just like before, I'm gonna grab a new spoon, is we're gonna fill our container here 3/4 of the way. Oh, see, I accidentally dropped some of that, so perfect. And what I'm gonna do is now then take my red. So basically like a drop of red. There we are. I'm gonna wipe the excess. There we go. Put that toothpick to the side, take a new toothpick, and I'm gonna take a drop of yellow. So it's really interesting and definitely a little finicky too, depending on the kind of, you know, watercolor or the actual, the gel food coloring that you're using. You know, how that actually can work and mix together and things like that. So you see here, I'm adding the water and I'm gonna go ahead and just mix. So it may have seemed like, you you know, I added maybe too much red or too much yellow. That's all about, you know, how you see it and what color you're trying to achieve. But you can see how much more of an orange color that looks like, which is, I think that's beautiful. So you can really tell the difference between, you know, our red and yellow and our mixture here too. So it may be a little too watery still. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of more powder, or not powder sugar. I'm in my baking mindset. Just add a little more baking soda. Yeah, so we want it just to be less watery. Okay, so next we want to mix our next color that we are looking for. So maybe we would like to make green. So, you know, we want to look at our green and maybe like how we can achieve that. So basically we're, you know, taking our blue and our yellow to make green. So, you know, now we're mixing our secondary colors. So here we're going to take our baking soda and fill it up all the way, or 3/4 of the way, like I say. And like I said, we're gonna just use like 1 scoop, equal parts. So we're gonna put yellow here. Oh, and I'm gonna grab a new toothpick and I'm gonna do blue. So maybe I don't wanna do as much blue, depending on, you know, the color of the green that I'm really looking for. But you see how I'm just doing a dot and a dot. And you can really see how much I used there, just a dot and a dot of the gel colors. And there we go. A scoop of water of our spoon. It's really nice because the like using a spoon for like your measurements are really, really easy. So you kind of see maybe I don't have enough water, but actually I may have used too much blue because that's kind of a deeper blue than I really am, looking for. Or, you know, that's just maybe not as pretty of a green as I'm looking for. And I definitely just added too much water. Well, that's okay, because I can just add more baking soda. So, you know, you really want to take your time here in gauging, you know, how much you're actually putting into everything. So I'm just gonna add quite a bit more there because I know I added way too much. So even adding the baking soda will lighten your colors too, which is really helpful. So that's just like, you know, more of like a foresty green, which I was maybe looking for like a little bit of a brighter green or something of that sort. So maybe I would have maybe used a little bit more yellow to create that color. So you see that there? Okay, so now we want to make, you know, what colors make red and blue. So red and blue, we will then have purple. So that is our 6th color, and that's the next secondary color that we are going to be making. So this one we want to be very careful with, especially with the mixture, because the red and the blue are both such powerful colors to be mixing with. So I'm just going to take maybe like half of a drop of each color into the little guy here. Yep. There's just like half a color there, half a color of blue and half a color of red. Just because these are such touchy colors, and with liquid it would just be a little more different and a little easier. But what I really enjoy about this process is, you know, taking the time and really kind of getting the colors you really want and how you feel about them. So then I'm going to just take a spoonful of water. Not even a spoonful, just maybe like a half, a little bit more. So you can kind of see here the colors are already starting to mix together. Maybe I didn't do enough water. So you can kind of see just adding a little bit more water just to make the mixing a little easier is always useful. You can kind of see here, maybe I didn't do enough red. Yeah, maybe I just didn't do enough red. So it kind of just turned into a deeper blue color. So definitely maybe I didn't do enough red, you know, but that's why you're able to take your time and really achieve the colors that you're looking for. You know, so I'm just going to keep going just for time. But yeah, so, you know, then you can go ahead and if you're looking at your color wheel, doing all the extra colors, right? So, you know, making your tertiary colors too, things like that. And especially if you're working with watercolors, you do want to make sure that if you end up getting any watercolor, or food coloring, if you get that anywhere, you do want to wipe it up right away. You know, just I'm really prideful on, you know, cleaning and just making sure you're having a clean workspace. So doing it like that. But so you can kind of see some of my watercolors are still a little watery. And basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be letting our watercolors dry out. So they do have to sit for 24 hours or basically when they're dry to the touch. So, you know, once that happens, then you're able to use them. Or if you want to speed up the drying process, you can add them into the freezer. But, you know, I would go ahead and maybe just add quite a bit more baking soda into some of them because you see once it's settled how kind of liquidy all of them are. But so what's important is basically, you know, cleaning these up and making sure that you're always capping your food coloring gels or your liquids just so you don't accidentally make a mess or something like that. So I'm going to put those watercolors or my gels off to the side. So here I'm going to add more baking soda to them is the result. But let me show you, I did make some watercolors beforehand and I let them dry, just air dry. So this is another example of some containers that you can use to make your watercolors. So here I made these colors and you can kind of see how they dried out a little bit. So it almost gives that baking soda texture to them, which is totally fine because these are our awesome watercolors that we have created on our own. And I wanted to show you how awesome and really cool that these are. So I just have a little paper here. And I do have my watercolor brush. And they do work just like other watercolors. You know, you can get them wet and, you know, it's important, especially because I tried to make black. You know, it's, you do want to get like a lot of these wet here to start off with to be able to kind of use them. So you see how they're all kind of changing a little, but, you know, you have to be just kind of patient, you know, because these are your special own watercolors, basically, here. And that's what's really great. And it's okay because you can kind of see I'm laying down my blue color here. And you can kind of see how light that is. And they do work really well, like just like any other watercolor, you know, kind of, you know, with blending and kind of desaturating and saturating the colors too. You know, it's just about taking your time and really figuring out how they do work. So it also depends on how, you know, bold, you know, like I made these ones, you know, this blue is totally different than the blue that I just made today, you know, and I did that for like a reason, right? So it's really cool because, you know, you have like full control over like all of the art supplies, which is really great. You know, you do want to just get them a little damp, just like watercolors. And, you know, that's how we're going to use them. But you see here how I can do that. Sorry, just running out of time a little bit. But so these are basically the colors that I made here or right here. So you can kind of see how they do work, and it's just, you know, you have to take a little bit more time to really kind of get the colors you want and really blend things like that too. And once they do dry, you kind of see that there is the baking soda like residue, which is totally okay because you can just brush that off right into the trash. But this is a great project too if you know, you don't have access to any watercolors, but you have access to maybe some baking soda. But yeah, you can just add some water, you know, just like normal watercolors and really get started. So you can kind of see too how the water kind of changes, you know, the baking soda in the watercolors already. So I'm just gonna go like that and add them here. But you can kind of see once I mix it all together, you know, how great that's gonna look too. So basically just adding water, and then, you know, you can really kind of change the saturation. So you see how that color is laying out, and you know, it's really great because they do work just like watercolors. So you add more water. So yeah, so it's really great too because, you know, there's a lot of projects that I want to, you know, do with everybody on Cap at Home that really involve some watercolors. And it's really cool because now we have our own. So you can see here too, as I added some more water to the purple, and here's our purple. So yep, so these ones are the ones that I made, you know, to show. Here's some black. So it's a little similar to the purple, but just like a little darker. But yeah, so once, you know, they dry out, it's really great because you can store them, and it's really easy to have them, especially too in like a watercolor tray, and being able to mix all of these together on your own. So, you know, now is really important. So I'm gonna put these somewhere that are, actually once I add more baking soda, I'm gonna, you know, put them somewhere where no one will touch and they can dry fully for a day. And, you know, this is my favorite time is cleanup. So, you know, what's great about, you know, working with these little containers is that they all come with little, you know, lids. And so it's great because these are easy to store. You can let them dry out and you can use them over and over again. You know, they're your own watercolors and they're your own colors that you can create and really take your time in creating, which is really important too. And I definitely want to mix some more colors in the rest of my ice cube tray. So I'm going to put those off to the side. Also, I'm going to put those in like with my other things. And, you know, everything else I'm going to just go ahead and pick up and toss right in the trash. You know, use if you have any Lysol wipes or any other kind of, you know, like sprays or anything, this is now the important time. And if you have something that you started to work on, just put it off to the side and you can clean that up, putting the baking soda back. But yeah, so, you know, there is our almost finished. We're just gonna wait a whole day to dry them out, but those are going to be our homemade watercolors. So yeah, so thanks so much for joining me today. Hopefully next week we're going to be using our watercolors and using for a different project, and hopefully you made your own and hopefully you made some special colors and you can show us what you made. But thanks for hanging out with me today and with Miss Allie and with Miss Ivy. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we see you you know, on Saturday for our Cap Artist shout out, and hopefully next week. So yeah, stay tuned. Bye.